gains in his war on illegal pot shops by destroying more than 8,000 pounds of seized cannabis products. The mayor using a crane to move the more than 4 tons of products into an incinerator at a facility in Westbury, Long Island.
Good morning and good afternoon. It is Saturday, August 31st, 2024. We hope you had a great week this week, and this is your blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ. I'm your host, Jason Beck, and please remember to smash that like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as well as drop us a comment down below of what you think about this week's blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ. So let's get right into it with story number 1 in this week's blunt wrap-up. He also reportedly avoided traveling through countries where Telegram is under surveillance. Owner of Telegram has been arrested, and wonder if Elon is next. That's right. Pavel Durov, the founder and CEO of the messaging service Telegram, was arrested as he disembarked his private jet on the tarmac at Le Bourget Airport in Paris, France. Channel TF1 reported back on Saturday. OFMIN, a part of the National Directorate of the French Judicial Police, had placed an arrest warrant on Durov, a French-Russian dual national, due to lack of cooperation with law enforcement and suspected complicity in drug trafficking, pedocriminal offenses, and fraud, according to TF1. Pavel Durov, 39, was said to have been arrested at 8 p.m. French time, having flown in from Azerbaijan. The warrant on Durov was only valid if he was on French soil, and as a result, TF1 reported that Durov traveled via the United Arab Emirates, former Soviet countries, and South America to avoid arrest in Europe. He also reportedly avoided traveling through countries where Telegram is under surveillance, you guys. In a quote, "He made a big mistake this evening," a source close to the investigation told TF1. "We don't know why. Was this flight just a stopover? In any case, he's in custody." TF1 said that the investigators from France Anti-Fraud Directive and placed Durov in custody, and the CEO will appear before a judge on Saturday night before a possible indictment on Sunday. The alleged offenses included terrorism, narcotic supply, fraud, money laundering, receiving stolen goods, and others. TF1 claimed the businessman could face up to 20 years in prison. Tucker Carlson, the American commentator, tweeted that Durov was arrested for flying to exercise free speech. Pavel Durov sits in a French jail tonight, a living warning to any platform owner who refuses to censor the truth at the behest of governments and intelligence agencies. Darkness is descending fast on the formerly free world, and this source came out of the MJ Post. And man, oh man, oh man, this is a big, big, big hit to free speech. Telegram, from my understanding, is the only messaging service that does not cooperate with not just the United States federal government, but also with international agencies in regards to information sharing and giving them a back-end door to see what is going on in your account. And I believe that that is really why this is going on, is more or less because they want to have total government control over you and whatnot. You know, similar to like what Instagram and what we've seen with other social media platforms here in the U.S. And so I stand with Pavel and I say, free Pavel. I think he should totally be freed. This is totally unjust, and thank goodness for people like him who will stand up for free speech in the world, because we definitely need it, especially with all the censorship that is happening nowadays. But nonetheless, of what I think about this, let's go on to see what you guys have to say about this. And on another note, if I do happen to murder your Instagram name, I do apologize in advance. It is not intentional. And now let's see what you guys have to all say about this. The Jungle Boys say, is Cali Plug still taking credit for Telegram? That is really good. Really good, guys. To which the Blacklist responds and says, I hope so. Then can rot in prison once and for all. A.D. Lustig says he's getting the Ross Albright treatment. That is true, too. And Mr. Alden Park says, if you're not using Telegram, what are you using? Well, you obviously be using one of those apps that the government already has the back door into. Man, the Blacklist actually responded to Mr. Alden Park and says, personal relationships via word of mouth, communicating face-to-face and or via FaceTime audio. That is true. FaceTime audio and FaceTime video are very secure. That part is true. Fortune 500 official says he about to give up the info. Time to get off Telegram. Tommy 2x16 says dark times ahead of us. Yes, they are. The Matrix is real. And cool_J says he's been refusing to sell user data to big agencies for the past 10 years. You are right about that. And Dream Not Intuity says Signal CEO reading this while packing his bags. I don't know why he'd be packing his bags because they have a backdoor encryption to Signal, so I'm not sure why that would be the case, but whatever. A90_Mike says, who misses the old Snapchat? And Derek.D says, trapping by smoke signals only in the future. That I like that, trapping by smoke signals. Just, Cadel J. Colby says, we living in 1984. Yes, and if you haven't read that book, I do suggest that you go and check that out. L_Competa_happy says, LMAO, that's like charging Dodge CEO for all the cars used to do sideshows. That's a pretty good analogy, bro. Stars_and_stripes_LLC says, these governments compromise or leverage anyone who has the ability to provide any communications they can't eavesdrop on. You are so right about that. Big Brother is watching you. And Collective Branding 420 Print says, back to 3 burners. I Drift Car says, that's why it was so secure. And _when the other's shoe falls says, might get a little rough for some of you. Been having it easy, trappers out there. II.nigga.ii says, he tried to make a public forum of the Silk Road. This was bound to happen. Possibly, but, Trump said he's going to pardon the guy from Silk Road, so we'll see what happens. Noel Way Crook says, no cap, he got to take one for the team like Ross Ulbright. Ross Ulbright's been popular in this conversation, you guys. Ganja Grin says, sounds like he wouldn't work with the FBI and CIA, so they slapped him with a bunch of crap charges. Things are out of control. Well, actually, I think these charges were more throughout the UN that he got these through, but okay. Kiston Gardner says, same thing they do to everyone who doesn't suck them off in every way possible and has a free mind. We got to start standing up for these guys. Totally agree with the last part. Definitely got to stand up for these guys. 100% free Pavel. That's for sure. Big Bag 704 says, I'm 70-30 that Pavel will not give up the none to the officials. If he did, it would basically put his reputation in the gutter. I mean, I don't really think he cares what you think about him, in all honesty. I mean, he's a millionaire, billionaire, and doesn't care about any of that, but whatever. Miss Medellin says, deny, deny, deny. You are right. Deny, 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 and the law will not apply. But we'll see how that plans out. Music Fest 365 says, France got taken over in like a day. They trying to go after anyone they can now. This their best opportunity to make a name for themselves. That is true, too. And Labs and Dabs says, so Russia didn't arrest him, but France did. I know, isn't that pretty ironic, bro? It's a trip. Panacea.ascending says, never used Telegram, but still sad to see. Like Assange, Snowden, and others. Very, very true. And Family One Stogue says, jailing a CEO for not letting the government on back end of software to monitor users. Legal system, not a justice system. Couldn't have said it better myself. All right. Moving right along into story number 2 in this week's blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ. Thailand's cannabis industry is facing a serious product price drop due to the market oversupply. The price of dried cannabis flowers has fallen to less than 2,000 baht. That's $58.29 per kilogram. Affected by this price drop, some local cannabis growers and producers are turning to new cultivation technologies to enhance the quality and value of their marijuana products. More specifically, some cultivators are using aeroponic technology with the goal of reaching international markets. With aeroponic technology, growers can cultivate high-quality plants that meet the export standards of Europe and Australia. In these markets, cannabis can reach the price of 100,000 baht per kilogram. In July, Thailand's Deputy Prime Minister and Buhatchaman BJT, the party leader, and Antunin Shavakaril confirmed that then Prime Minister Saritha Thavisin agreed that proper regulation is a better solution than previously announced cannabis recriminalization. That means they backpedaled, you guys. In the meantime, Thailand's Constitutional Court has removed Thavisin from office for appointing a minister with a criminal conviction, and Pathinagarn Suratia was named the new prime minister. While it is still unclear how Shinatra will act on cannabis laws, her previous statements reveal that she has not supported marijuana legalization, citing concerns that may cause more harm than benefit, reports the Thai PBS, according to translation. Man, oh man, oh man, I'll tell you what, it sounds like the Thai market is really bottoming out. It's all of a sudden just got a flat tire. But every time I see videos of cannabis sales in Thailand, these stores are charging dollars and not baht. So I really wonder what's really going on. It sounds like these stores are just making a killing right now if the price of cannabis is that low there and they are still charging US dollars from what I've seen. But nonetheless, I'm not in Thailand. Hopefully some of you in Thailand will chime in on this video and give us some insight as to the whole marketplace out there. But let's see what you guys all have to say about this, you guys. Thailand. The perfect Puma says, just like all the mids here these days. That's right, lots of mids, that's for sure. Cake Not Crumbs says it is indoors, though. Well, some of it is, some of it isn't, and I'm not too sure. Aeroponics is super, super fire, but nonetheless. Gifted Music says, nah, we still sending terp packs to Phuket. You heard? Interesting, incriminating yourself, but nonetheless. L.A._reggae says, same shit that happened in America. Once you legalize it across the boards, price drops. Those who risked their lives selling it before it was legal are done. Bud Tender says, flood zone, tidal wave of mids warning. It's cute. And pushersofficial.th says, the market is very saturated at the moment here in Thailand. Well, I imagine so with it going that low, but nonetheless. And Terpy High says, LOL, 2,000 baht per kilogram is fake news. That's some super low quality outdoor brick presses shit, he says. And Whack Enough says, all the Oregon growers that moved out here just going to have to move in with their lady boys to survive this. That's pretty funny, bro. That is pretty funny. And rolling right into our third story of the day in this week's blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ. Approximately 50 million in cocaine and marijuana, along with 7 suspected smugglers, was offloaded in Port Everglades on Friday, you guys. The U.S. Coast Guard reported that in an interagency and international partner collaboration, more than 3,400 pounds of cocaine and 4,410 pounds of marijuana were intercepted in international waters off of South America in the eastern Pacific Ocean. These 7 suspected smugglers were then transported and placed into federal custody and are set to face prosecution, according to authorities, you guys. The United States Coast Guard stated that the Joint Interagency Task Force South is responsible for finding and tracking illegal drug movement through air and sea. When it's time to intervene, the U.S. Coast Guard takes over and manages the operation to seize the illicit drugs and apprehend the responsible parties, you guys. Man, oh man, oh man. This is sourced out of WPEC out of West Palm Beach. And man, I'll tell you, I love me some Palm Beach, Florida. But I don't understand how they are calling this the Eastern Pacific. I mean, I guess if you say towards South America, I guess that could be considered that. But when I hear the word Eastern Pacific, I think more closer to China and whatnot. But nonetheless, you know, busts always happen. Who knows? This could probably very well could have been a big diversion, but who knows? I know a lot of you guys had thoughts like that in the chat, and we're going to go and see what you guys had to say about this. Tiger Mark 5 says, why the F is anyone shipping weed? The U.S. is drowning in oversupply. You are so right. Dougal Blaze says, this might be the very first time I've heard an accurate pricing for drugs from a police source. Interesting. Hi _ me _ song says, this one was probably the fake one because, well, there's a bigger one passing through, $900 plus million going to its destination. If you watch movies, there's always a distraction. It's fair enough. Life is a movie. I'm not mad at that. And there usually always is a distraction. And a lot of times, you know, that's just how it works. I mean, Bobby Digital says Eastern Pacific Ocean. That wouldn't be near Florida. I'm with you. I'm with you. But then they called in the U.S. Coast Guard, and that's probably where they ended up docking. So that's where they made the arrest because they need an address in order to make arrests, and there's no addresses in the ocean. Cannabis 420 says everybody talking about that brick weed pillows are the shit. Buying them at $25 a pound and putting them in the bathroom with the shower on to pop out the seeds, and you got $200 to $300 lows flying off the shelves. Hashtag free game. It's an interesting way to do it. Real _ vibe 2002 says, to be honest, yeah, that's a fair estimate for once. $30 a chicken and $350 a bow with those amounts is about 48 million, he says. Luke.w says, brickweed equals lows in Florida. That's pretty good. And Joseph Gross, the 12, says, more like 10 mil US if you're crushing numbers like that. The CIA going to have a heyday with those 1,800 keys. And Gordy does it. I think you might say it the best. Who the F is still buys brick weed for reals? I totally agree. I don't know who's buying brick weed, bro. I haven't seen brick weed in years. I'm totally with you. And moving right along into our fourth story of the day in this week's blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ. It's coming out of Westbury, Nassau County in New York, you guys.
Adams celebrating big gains in his war on illegal pot shops by destroying more than 8,000 pounds of seized cannabis products. The mayor using a crane to move the more than 4 tons of products into an incinerator at a facility in Westbury, Long Island. The cannabis will then be burned. The cannabis products were found in more than 1,000 unlicensed businesses that were shut down as part of Operation Padlock to Protect.
We had a substantial number of locations and sites. We've inspected 100% of those locations and sites. Now, it's a continuing inspections. We have to stay on top of this because there are so many people who would like to participate in this illegal endeavor.
The mayor says the city has 200,000 additional pounds of illegal cannabis, which it will eventually destroy.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams celebrated big gains in his war on illegal smoke shops Wednesday by destroying more than 8,000 pounds of seized cannabis, you guys. 8,000 pounds, that's right. The mayor used a crane to move more than 4 tons of product into an incinerator at a facility in Westbury out in Nassau County. The items were then destroyed, you guys. Man, all this boof just destroyed. I know someone out there is crying. And the marijuana products were seized from more than 1,000 unlicensed cannabis businesses that were shut down as part of Operation Padlock to Protect, they say. Officials say they have an additional 200,000 pounds of product to destroy. And man, oh man, they have an additional 200. I mean, if you're going to destroy all that product and do the whole press release, why not just burn it all? That doesn't make sense, you guys. And from my understanding, you guys are doing something. You're burning this product and like doing some type of steam distillation or whatnot to try to turn it into some type of energy source. And all I know is this just sounds like one of those crazy Green New Deals. I think this stuff could have been way better used by giving it to homeless people. You have tons of illegals in New York, or even, you know what I'm saying? How about just giving it to veterans and giving it to people that need it, people indigent, people that can't afford things. You know, there's lots of people living off the system, and maybe those people need some help. But nonetheless, New York doesn't care about my ideas. They're just going to do what they do. They're like the honey badger, you know what I mean? But we're going to go and see what you guys have all to say about this, because mediflower.dc_ says they burned 8K packs for show. What they really doing with the 200K packs, though? Yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't they just burn it all at the same time? Like, they already paid the money for the crane operator and everything and all this. Like, that just seems crazy to me that they didn't just burn it all at the same time. It's something that definitely smells fishy. CB Braddy says, let me stand downwind from that. That's cute. That reminds me of that movie Homegrown, when everybody stood on along the fence and the cops incinerated the whole grow and everything and all that. Yeah, those are pretty good movies. Check it out. Medusa Farm says, think about the poor mules that drove it there from Oklahoma. It's a hefty drive. Grass_action_hero says, could have had it all lab tested and anything good donated to veterans groups or cancer research, such as public waste. True that. Evan Bright says, let's not lie. No one should be smoking that anyway. I think probably most of it, you're probably right about that. And Rob in your hood says, cheap China work anyways. That's fair. Reggie3136 says, I hope they don't burn it with turkey bags. That would be bad for the environment. Well, you know they're burning it with all the Mylar bags and everything and all of that. They're not going and opening up every package and dumping the stuff out. It's just crazy. Really bad for the environment. All you greenies out there. Mitch Ray 420 says, to think this is a big bust is crazy. This average around my parts. New York so slow. And Ashaka_veganic says, a crane? They are individual pounds, not a car. How much time and money are they wasting? Facts. True points on that. Markden in LA says, not a flex, not important, not making a difference, not felt in the market. And this is literally the equivalent to watching the police masturbate on city time. Getting High with Cats says, watching this is like when your mom would flush weed down the toilet like you weren't going to meet back up with the plug later that night when mom was in bed. I mean, boys will be boys. The Real Cookie_777 says, damn, that's where all the West Coast mids went, LOL. Good thing it's about crop time, LOL. The show goes on. Yes, that's right. Harvest season is coming upon us. You are correct about that. And Neighborhood_shooter says, what about his illegal smoke shops? No one is talking about that. Well, all this product came from the illegal smoke shop, so I'm a little confused on your comment, but nonetheless, maybe you can explain it in the comments down below. Getting High with Cat says, LMFAO. Oh no, it's almost like people can't just grow more. Exactly. And NYC POV 420 says, it feels like the 2000s again. I feel you, bro. I feel you, man. I feel you. And rolling right along into our fifth and final story of the day in this week's blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ, to which the Blacklist says, you guys, that's right, U.S. cannabis stocks fell hard on Tuesday after the Drug Enforcement Administration scheduled a hearing on its proposal to change the classification of cannabis to the less restrictive Schedule 3 for December 2nd, after the presidential election, according to the announcement made on Monday. The DEA has not issued a timeline for its process to potentially change the classification of cannabis, which has been a Schedule I drug since the Controlled Substances Act went into effect back in 1970. But some in the cannabis industry had hoped for a final decision before the U.S. election, and I just call that nothing more than wishful thinking, you guys. But nonetheless, the DEA's move puts greater election risk around rescheduling if cannabis is not reclassified before the next administration takes over in January, Aaron Gray, an analyst at Alliance Global Partners, said on Tuesday. Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris has voiced support for moving cannabis to Schedule III, which would put it in the same category as anabolic steroids and ketamine. Other Schedule I drugs include heroin and LSD. And Republican nominee Donald Trump has signaled some potential wiggle room on cannabis, although most of his fellow Republicans, including Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, continue to oppose relaxation of cannabis laws, you guys. In a quote, while the rescheduling may not occur ahead of the election, Vice President Harris winning the presidential election increases the chances of a final rule being completed in a timely manner, Gray said, adding that former President Donald Trump winning the election could pose some risk to rescheduling, depending on who he would appoint as his attorney general. The DEA received 43,000 comments on its proposal, which was initially made on May 21st, with a comment period that closed in late July. And the DEA said the comments included requests to hold a public hearing. Well, you asked for it. You got it, people. And DEA Administrator Annie Milligram said she would name a presiding officer and determine who will participate in the hearing, which will take place in Arlington, Virginia on December 2nd at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, you guys. Well, they're going to have this hearing. Man, oh man, oh man. There was a lot of speculation from people saying that they weren't going to have a hearing, and there was so much anticipation. And I'm not surprised that these stock prices dropped, because all these people have been just gaslighting people, saying that all these great things are going to happen, and Schedule III is going to be such a great thing for cannabis, and yada, 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 yada. But the reality is that Schedule III is not a good thing for cannabis. It's not a good thing for access. You have the Food, Drugs, and Cosmetic Act. You have a whole new governmental organization coming in to provide governance over cannabis, being the FDA. And the FDA only regulates things as a single molecule, and cannabis is not a single molecule. And a lot of the doctors out there say they want to be able to make sure that they're always able to offer full spectrum, and there won't be any type of full spectrum products that will be available under a Schedule III type of breakdown as far as within the Controlled Substances Act. But nonetheless, let's go in and see what you guys have to say. It's about to be Labor Day weekend, you guys. Hope you guys are going to have a great holiday weekend. Because Big Bank _27 says they're going to pop out, mark my words, they don't like how many people become millionaires these last few years. You're right, they do not. And Evil Stoner says some bullshit. Another election. Don't wait on the government. They usually never get it right. Tell me about it, bro. We've been waiting forever for them to do something, and nothing's happened, and they're still not doing anything. Sequoia _CBD says it's low as shit on their list of things to do, if it's even on their list, actually. I agree with that. It is very low on their list, if it is on their list at all. That's fair. Pistol _Pete _engineer says, I thought it was ruled a few months ago non-elected entities couldn't make law. You're right. That did happen 100%. But why, the Democrats are in power. That's what they do. They just make up the laws as they go along. I mean, we've seen it happen in a number of things, and, Republicans do that the same time too, in some ways. But I'm hoping that ultimately that this whole program for Schedule III gets trashed. But nonetheless, tell me what you think about Schedule III in the comments below. Mr. Garrison _2024 says, I thought this got shut down and buried. Looks like the market in Thailand is going to be a lot better in the future. Well, not if you just heard our second story when we were talking about Thailand and the price of flour there anymore. It sounds like that market is bottoming out, Mr. Garrison. And the fine print _unjournalism says, someone go look up all the sitting members of Congress that own shares in cannabis companies. Well, they're probably pretty mad if they own shares in cannabis companies, because those things have been dropping. Snow Glove says, yes, keep it Schedule 1. And I agree. It should be kept as a Schedule 1 drug unless it goes to a full descheduling of cannabis. I am totally about that. Extracting_fluff says, yeah, because if Harris gets elected, we know that shit's about to turn to a felony, as she has prosecuted many people for cannabis in the past. That is very, very true. And JMots2 says, Biz is dead. Who cares? That's another fair point, too. Carlos D'Amico 11 says, no reclassifying, just decriminalize or don't do anything. Yeah, I'm with you, but I think when you say decriminalize, you mean deschedule. Deschedule is the actual proper term. And Hash and Flower says, it's typical political BS. Keep doing what you're doing. Life is flying by. That's right. We can't get caught up in all the hype. We need to make sure that we're continuing to live, supporting our friends, and enjoying life. I'm with you on that, Hash and Flowers. _Valley 805 says, what are some good cannabis stocks to invest in? Well, this is not financial advice, but I just say short them all. And Hey Buds Let's Party says, well, that's a good sign. Unfortunately, seems like the DEA thinks Trump is going to win. Well, I don't think the DEA really has a thing as far as who wins. They're going to do what they're going to do regardless. They're pretty much independent agency. So, but we'll see. We shall see. Well, thank you all for tuning in to this week's weekend episode of the blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ. I'm your host, Jason Beck, and make sure to tune in to High at 9 News every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast for America's #1 daily cannabis news show, High at 9 News, as well as continue to comment on all the posts, the Blacklist XYZ and the Blacklist posts throughout the week for your chance to be featured on next week's blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ. Have a fantastic holiday Labor Day weekend, everyone, and don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as well as drop us a comment down below with what you think about this weekend's blunt wrap-up of the Blacklist XYZ. Brought to you by High at 9 News and Cloud Media Partners. Have yourself an amazing and safe Labor Day weekend, everyone. Stay lit.